A couple weeks ago, we finally saw the release of the long-awaited Skyblock on Hypixel. I posted a first impressions video and even a 2-hour live stream of the game, and since then, I have not slowed down. This is definitely a very addicting game. I've gotten a lot of advice from more seasoned players who try hard the game even more than I do, and from my own experience playing the game that I wanted to share with you guys since I have gotten some questions on my videos and on Discord, so I'd like to help out newer players as much as I can. Now, of course, I'm certainly not an expert. Skyblock is a very hot topic right now, so there are plenty of YouTubers who know far more than I do, but I just wanted to share what I have learned for others who are just starting out. So here are 10 tips for beginner Hypixel Skyblock players. Probably one of the most important but also most neglected tips is put your money away in the bank. Not only do you accumulate interest so you get extra money from keeping your coins in the bank, but you lose half the money in your purse every time you die to an enemy. Losing a few coins isn't a big deal, but if you go adventuring with several hundred or even a couple thousand, or God forbid a few million coins in your purse that you forgot to put away and suddenly get overpowered by mobs, half of that hard-earned money is just gone. So even if you have to stop what you're doing far away from the hub island and go back to deposit your money and walk all the way back to where you were, do it. It is much better to take an extra couple minutes to make sure your money is safe and you have it for when you need it in the future than to do something stupid and end up losing it and not having enough when you want to buy something or go to the auction house for something really expensive. Skyblock is a very extensive grinding sort of game that requires a lot of time to be put into it because there's so much you can do and all kinds of things you can craft. Because of this, there are so many items that you wouldn't even consider to ever be useful. You just toss them out and forget about them, get rid of that cactus or those spider eyes, it's no big deal. Until you need it for something later that would be super useful, either in crafting or expanding your island. Especially with the collection system that rewards you for gathering more and more items, when you start out, it's a really good idea to go in with the mindset that anything could be useful at some point down the road. Just craft a bunch of chests, keep your stuff organized, and it will massively pay off when you've unlocked useful items for collections or when you can place a dozen minions all over your island. Which leads me to my next point. One of the most useful things you can do to benefit you in the long run is to craft and upgrade all of your minions. Even if you don't plan on placing them or you don't see them as useful, it is still important to level up as many minions as possible because in order to unlock additional slots to be able to place more minions at one time, you have to craft more and more unique minions, which includes their upgrades. So even though a zombie minion, for example, likely won't ever have any sort of practical use, it won't directly attribute to acquiring some good gear by gathering a ton of rotten flesh. It will help in the long term by adding to the number of unique minions crafted to allow you to place more useful minions that will actually be helpful. Even if you craft minions just to throw them in a chest and never use them, do it. Use all that crap you've been gathering to contribute towards making more progress. There are a lot of portions of the Skyblock world that can yield some really valuable materials, but the enemies can be tough for even an experienced player to handle on their own sometimes. A great way to help with this is to party up with friends and go on expeditions to defeat the magma boss together or go to the bottom of the deep caverns. Strength in numbers and all that, and you'll have a much easier time defeating tougher enemies and acquiring more valuable loot a lot quicker if you've got people to help you, as opposed to attempting it solo and dying a countless amount of times. Y'all should know by now, Hypixel loves to put their own twist on things, especially game modes like Skyblock that are found on other servers and are super popular. So they've really amped it up from normal Minecraft mechanics, which includes hostile mobs that have extra abilities you wouldn't expect and can quickly result in your death if you aren't careful, which can also result in losing a heck of a lot of coins if you don't follow the first tip. Things from silent creepers to zombies shooting lasers to magma cubes shooting explosives to gigantic slimes with super knockback, many of the mobs are designed to be much more dangerous and much more of a hassle to deal with. This is also where having others to help fight would be very useful, but if you are exploring on your own, it is very important to be cautious when fighting enemies. Take your time and learn what extra abilities they may have. Develop a strategy and learn how to deal with these much more effectively. And that way you won't be sent all the way back to the spawn area every couple minutes. There are some resources that will be harder than others to gather, so you might have to rely on some unconventional ways to get them while also getting the bonus of expanding your island. For example, sand. Seems like something completely useless, normally would be, but sand is actually essential to acquire soul sand. However, you can't just head over to the mushroom desert and collect sand to your heart's content, because you aren't able to pick it up there. Sand is also available from the farm merchant at the hub, but it doesn't count towards your collection, so you can't unlock more items that way. What you have to do is actually collect enough cactus to unlock the recipe to craft a desert island. And from there, you can gather enough sand to craft a sand minion, which over time will make enough sand for you to unlock the soul sand trade. Sounds convoluted? Welcome to Skyblock! Another island that is very useful once you are able to obtain soul sand is the Netherwart Island, because it spawns with an abundance of obsidian, which normally you can only get at the lowest level of the deep caverns with the toughest enemies in the area. But fortunately, the Netherwart Island comes with enough obsidian to be able to craft an obsidian minion, giving you an unlimited supply without having to delve down into the deep caverns, which is much easier than having to venture into the obsidian sanctuary and deal with those super tough enemies just for a few pieces of obsidian. As of right now, there is no other place for you to find Endermen aside from your own islands. So, if you're a big dummy like I was and light up the entire area immediately, none are gonna spawn. You can't get ender pearls regularly, so it's very important that you leave your island dark during nighttime so endermen can spawn, since you need to gather just 50 ender pearls on your own so that you can unlock the recipe for the minion, and you need even more to actually craft it. So make sure you hold off on those torches starting out, learn from my mistakes, and then you can easily gather as many ender pearls as you want whenever you want. The auction house allows players to sell all sorts of useful things to everyone else, some of them very useful and at a really good value, and others, not so much. A glass bottle or raw pork chop or other common items definitely aren't worth the million coins that people often sell them for. I know it sounds fun to buy something super common for a lot of money for the memes or for giggles, but trust me, your money is much better spent elsewhere. It's also very easy to get caught up in a bidding war with other players who have their eye on the same items you want, which can end up skyrocketing the price way above what it's actually worth. Something to keep in mind is that if you have enough time and patience, you can get pretty much anything on your own eventually. So then paying outrageous prices for these items will only end up being a huge waste of your coins. So while the auction house can be useful at times, it's generally best to stay away and work towards getting these items on your own. As I mentioned, with Hypixel being Hypixel, they of course add all sorts of new things to put their own twist on a traditional Skyblock game, including a ton of different unique enchantments. A lot of these are extremely useful when you can unlock them, but of course in order to enchant books or add enchantments to items through an anvil, it's going to require a lot of experience, especially with the more enchants you add to an item. It'll get expensive in experience pretty quick, so make sure you do not neglect XP. I see a lot of people not bothering to collect XP when they're out killing mobs or something, but it all adds up. You don't even lose XP when you die, so I always make it a point to gather as much as I can, because I'd rather go out of my way to grab a little extra experience lying around instead of coming up short when I'm trying to enchant a badass sword or piece of armor that's going to help me much more in the game. With Hypixel being more of a minigame server, Skyblock is very different from anything they've ever done before. There's a lot of grinding involved, which can be very tedious and even boring at times, especially especially if you're just going around aimlessly, unsure of what to do. To prevent this, it's important to set goals, both short-term and long-term, so you always have something you're directly working towards. And that will be your motivation to continue grinding, mining endless items, killing countless enemies, completing collection after collection to unlock all the recipes you can and finish as much of the game as possible. It is going to take a lot of time and effort, but if you're really dedicated, it will absolutely pay off. But that's only if you stick with it and don't lose focus. And those are my tips for beginner Hypixel Skyblock players. As I said, I'm certainly not the most experienced at this game, and I'm sure there are many others you could get even better advice from, but these are just things I've learned on my own time from the game, so I wanted to pass on the knowledge to other new Skyblock players. If you have any additional tips you'd like to share, then you can certainly do so in the comments, and maybe if I get enough, I'll make another video in the future and be sure to credit those who contribute. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!